Call the meeting to order. Good evening. This is the August 13, 2014 meeting of the Plain Township Zoning Commission. It is now 6 o'clock, and I wonder if we could begin by introducing the members through a roll call. Stephanie.
Wolf.
Here.
Benko.
Yes.
Harrison.
Here.
Rochon.
Here.
Thornborough.
Yes.
Seaberger.
Right here, and for those of you who do not know the members of the commission, I'm Terry Seaberger. I'm the chairman. We've got Patty Thornborough, who's to my left, and we've got David Rochon to her left, and to my right are Steve Harrison, Gary Benko, and Greg Wolf, all members of the commission. I'm going to ask the members of the commission and the zoning director, Mr. Folker, whether there are any changes to the agenda.
Not for me, please.
Okay, and then the next order of business will be to read the duties and procedures that we will follow tonight. Plain Township Zoning Commission. Our duties include the following. Make recommendations to the Board of Trustees with regard to amendments to the zoning text and map. The Zoning Commission does not have to prove to an applicant why his or her land should not be rezoned, but rather the applicant must prove his or her case for the proposed change. Any amendment by the trustees becomes effective 30 days from the date of such adoption, unless a petition for a referendum is filed within that 30-day period. The specific requirements for a petition of referendum are as set forth in Chapter 519 of the Ohio Revised Code in Section 3501.38 of the Ohio Revised Code. Since we have a number of people here, I'm going to give you a little bit about the procedure for conducting the meeting. First, this meeting is recorded to maintain a permanent record. Second, all testimony will be given under oath. Third, anyone wishing to speak must sign in. Have you all signed in, those who want to speak?
There's sign-in sheets at the podium.
Okay, that's fine. And identify themselves by giving their names and addresses before speaking each time. Speakers will address only the board and must provide factual evidence. Conversation between the speaker and the audience will not be tolerated. The applicant will speak first and present his or her request. Then anyone in favor may speak. Then those opposing the proposed change will have an opportunity to speak. If there's a large number of people wishing to take one side or the other, I would ask that they select a spokesperson to express the group's viewpoints. We will let everybody speak, but if it goes on too long, we will put reasonable time limitations on speaking. The board members, after hearing from all who wish to speak, will vote and reach a decision and announce that decision right here at this meeting. Should an additional hearing be necessary due to a continuance or postponement, the amendment will be rescheduled for the next available meeting date, and no additional notice will be provided. At this time, I'll ask all who plan to speak to stand up and take an oath. Okay, that means only 2 of you are going to speak tonight, correct? Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the information you are about to present is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Okay, great. You can sit down. All right, we have some housekeeping to take care of first. And among those duties is consideration of the minutes of our June 11, 2014 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would move we dispense with the reading of those minutes and approve them as submitted.
Second.
Okay. Any further comments, additions, deletions? Hearing none, we will call the issue.
Benko,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Rochon,
Yes.
Thornborough,
Yes.
Seaberger.
Yes. Do we have unfinished business, Mr. Director?
No, sir.
We do have some new business, and that is proposed amendment, 557. And this has been publicly advertised, has it not?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just go through it really quickly. This is a proposed zone change by applicant SRS Group of 9839 Strasser Road, Northwest Canal, Fulton, Ohio. The owner, though, is Sandra Merrill, but there may be two owners. The property, well, her address is listed as 2766 Mount Pleasant Street, North Canton, Ohio. The applicant requests a zone change to R1 Single Family Residential for approximately 18.65 acres located at 2766 Mount Pleasant Northwest and a vacant lot on Mount Pleasant Northwest. And the parcel numbers are 55-01379 and 55-00800. These properties are currently zoned rural residential and are located in the northwest quarter of Section 5. Do we take testimony first, Mr. Director, or do we go straight to the RPC recommendation? We've done it both ways.
Go ahead and read the RPC recommendation. And then
Okay, and for that I'm going to ask Ms. Thornborough to do that.
Okay, the following amendment was reviewed by the Regional Planning Commission on August 5th, 2014. The amendment was requested by SRS Group, Sandra Merrill. The reclassification of land from RR Rural Residential to R1 Single Family Residential. The description of the property: 2 tracts totaling approximately 18.65 acres located on the south side of Mount Pleasant Street and west of Woodrush Drive in the northwest quarter, Section 5. Plain Township, legal description on file in the office. The current use, again, is single-family residential agricultural. Proposed use, single-family residential. The RPC recommendation is for approval. The Regional Planning Commission recommends approval of the proposed rezoning to R1 single-family residential. The following facts were considered by the Commission in its decision. 1. The area surrounding the tracts in question consists entirely of single-family residences with only 2 parcels of land interspersed throughout. The north portion of the property is adjacent to Lake Township's jurisdictional boundary. Number 2, surrounding zoning includes R1 single-family residential to the east, south, and west. To the north, Lake Township zoning is R1 low-density residential. There is an area zone R2 1 and 2 family residential to the west of the tracts between Mount Pleasant Street and South Thornham Circle northwest. However, it is currently utilized for single-family housing. Number 3, one of the tracts is currently vacant land, 2.30 acres. The other tract is currently utilized for agricultural, a single-family residence, 16.35 acres. According to the application, the purpose of this zone change request is to allow the property owner to sell her property to a development group that wishes to develop the property in a manner which is consistent with the surrounding platted lots. Number 4, while the surrounding area is zoned R1 single-family residential, according to the application, many of the surrounding lots are under 10,000 square feet in area. Developing the properties for single-family residences with the existing RR zoning will require a minimum lot area of 30,000 square feet. This would result in lots and housing being inconsistent with the surroundings. Rezoning to R1 will require 15,000 square foot lot sizes, more consistent with the surrounding residences. Number 5, the Stark County 2030 Comprehensive Transportation Plan identifies future land use of the area as developed suburban residential land. I'm almost done. Last one, number 6. While sketch plans have been submitted for the site, staff is only reviewing the proposed zone change at this time. Any future development of this site will require compliance with the Stark County subdivision regulations, including street connectivity, approved roadway design, and divisions of land.
Thank you very much, and just so that the folks out there know, the Regional Planning Commission customarily submits recommendations one way or another to this commission. This commission accepts those as a recommendation. Sometimes we follow them, and sometimes we don't. I think at this time it will be appropriate to get to the testimony of phase, and who is here to speak on behalf of the applicant. And I want you to begin by giving us your name. I will do that, and address, and then we'll have a couple prefatory questions for you, and then you can speak extemporaneously.
Let me sign in here so I can.
Great.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Brian Ashman. I'm a partner at Cooper & Associates, and we're the design engineers for the developer SRS Group, who is considering the acquisition of property from Santa Mara.
Okay, do you have a representative from SRS Group with you tonight?
Yes, we do also.
Okay, and who's that?
Do you want him to come up also or first?
No,
Because he is intending to speak.
that's fine. I just wanted to know if you had somebody. Why don't you go ahead and speak extempore? Whoops, hold on.
Brian, can you say your last name again?
Ashman, A-S-H-M-A-N.
And where are you from?
Cooper and Associates, C-O-O-P-E-R.
May I please have your address?
1359 Market Avenue North in Canton, Ohio. That's my business address.
Thank you.
All right, now you can speak extempore.
Thank you very much. There's a couple issues I just want to re-emphasize that have already been addressed, but this is, in my viewpoint, it's a, I don't like to use the words like given or slam dunk or anything of that nature, but the development of this property in accordance with the existing zoning, the RR zoning of Plain Township using 30,000 square foot would be exceedingly out of character with respect to the existing developed portions of property that surround us on all four sides. As was indicated by the reading of the Stark County RPC comment number 4, most of the lots around this property are considerably smaller even than what we are going to be proposing. We're proposing to put in R1 subdivision in accordance with the R1 zoning code, which has a 15,000 square foot minimum size lot. Most of the lots out there are in the range of, some of them go as high as 12, 13, 14,000, but most of the lots out there currently are in the range of 8, 9, and 10,000 square feet per lot. So by going to a lot of 30,000 square feet, which is 3/4 of an acre, we would have lots that would be just very large in accordance with, or as comparable to those that are existing. If we would be putting in lots of that nature, typically you'd be thinking that you'd be putting in very expensive homes in that nature. What we want to do is create a development that will blend uniformly with the value and the size of the existing lots, or be of a slightly higher value, a larger size than the existing homes that are out there. But we don't want to be something that sticks out and be out of character. Considering that the development is only approximately 18 acres in size, it's hard to create your own little niche of, say, very expensive, higher acreage lots and create something that is marketable. We need to have something that blends in with the existing characteristics. So that was already emphasized, or that was already discussed, but I wanted to re-emphasize that. Our 15,000 square feet is about 50% larger than most of the existing lots that are out there. which is more than enough. And to have 30,000 square feet would just be, in my viewpoint, it would be, it's just not correct planning. Also indicated by the RPC comments, they had indicated that, you know, these sketch plans that we provide, and I believe that we provided one to all the board here also, those, you're not voting on that sketch plan. However, this is a plan that we propose to put in, very similar to this. It's in a preliminary state right now, but it presents the way the lots are intended to be developed and the way the roadways are intended to be extended. So we would be extending a roadway off of Mount Pleasant across from Abigail Street, Abigail Circle. We'd have a roadway coming down there, and we would be bringing another roadway in from the side street over there off of Sandalford, which is Carlton Street. What I did want to say is that this existing property, which is, it has a single house on it, a very large house, and it has some other amenities on it. But when the property will be developed, that is the only thing that is on there right now. And when the property is developed, I wanted to put special emphasis on the fact that we will be obligated, if it's developed in accordance with subdivision regulations, which we need to do, we are obligated to perform certain design facets, which I believe will be of a substantial benefit to the adjacent neighborhood, primarily that neighborhood to the east. This property generally, this 18 acres generally has a cross slope which allows water to drain from the west side down to the east side. Right now, during heavy storms, that water just comes right off the open field of this property and goes right down into the rear yards of the homes that are along the west side of Woodrush Drive. When the proposed development will be done, any sort of residential that is proposed, it's mandatory that the improvement plans include the construction of stormwater management facilities, in which case we're going to capture all of this water, we're going to detain it, and then we are going to properly dispose of this water in an existing storm sewer that is out on Woodrush Drive. So by doing this, we are going to be protecting those existing lots along the west side of Woodrush that are to the east of this proposed development. We are going to be protecting them from the existing conditions that they currently have of substantial quantities of stormwater runoff going down between their houses, across their driveways, and going over into Woodrush Avenue. That's a very important aspect, I believe, that this is going to be a very big benefit to the existing homes that are out there. There's often a concern that when a development goes in, that because you go in there with equipment, you're going to be disrupting the existing ground, and oh geez, we're going to end up with dirt coming down on our lots and things of this nature. Again, those homes over on the east side, because of the slope of the ground, the homes on the east side would have the most concern with respect to this issue. We also are forced by regulations, and these are Ohio EPA regulations, which are put into effect and controlled through the Stark Soil Water Conservation District. We are mandated to capture the water and the dirt that is generated during construction opportunities and prevent those items from being able to discharge onto those adjacent properties. So I want to just emphasize that is also being done as part of a proposed mandated regulation. We have it's not that we're saying, oh, we're the good guys, we're just going to do this. No, we are obligated to do this. So I just wanted to emphasize that. As part of the proposed subdivision, we will be extending sanitary sewer. We'll be extending water line in to serve the proposed lots. Not a big deal, but we will be on public sewer and water line, public water for all of the proposed lots. We are thinking that we will end up with 42 lots if everything gets approved and we proceed with our preliminary plat, which we hope to be able to proceed with. So we're looking at about 42 lots for anybody that is interested in about how many lots we're looking at. I did want to just state that roadway design, storm sewers, sanitary sewers, water lines, all of these aspects are submitted through the Stark County subdivision engineer for approval. So they will be reviewing everything and making certain that the improvement plans that we propose to do are in accordance with the regulations that are mandated. And as I had previously stated, the Stark Soil and Water Conservation will also be doing that. So in basic summary, I just want to reemphasize that the RR zoning that is currently out there is not applicable. It's not suitable for development of this 18-acre piece of property because, first off, it's not big enough to allow us to create our own marketing niche for the homes that would be constructed on there. And I think everything would just be out of place. We're not trying to go for anything special. It's the existing zoning that's out there, all surrounding us, and as I said, even the existing lots that are there are considerably smaller than what the current R1 zoning areas are. But if there should be any questions after you hear the other testimony, I'll come back up and talk. Otherwise, I'm done. Thank you.
Sure, but commission members may have questions for you right now.
Okay, and I'm glad to answer those right now.
Hi. The average size lot, you said around 10,000 square feet.
We're going to be 15,000 square feet.
15,000 square feet. So
That's the minimum size lot.
Okay, the average width would be 65, 70?
Our average width is going to be about 100 feet. Most of the lots that we are proposing to put in are going to be 100 foot wide by 150 foot deep.
Okay, so the average size house would be about 1,800 square feet?
I'm going to let Mr. Ray, who is here as the builder, come up and talk about the homes.
Okay.
Do you know, when was this property last used for agricultural purposes?
I do not know.
Will existing other type utilities be underground as far as, telephone poles, things of that sort, eliminated?
It is our intention at this time, unless the power company has a problem with it. Typically, in all of our subdivisions, we run our supplemental utilities underground, the telephone, electric, cable.
Thank you.
Of course, our sewers and sanitary will be underground.
Yes.
I have two more questions. Okay, will you be using Canton water, tying into Canton water, and also is that North Canton School District?
Yeah. Yes,
Just
Brian.
North Canton. Okay.
Yes.
I have a question. This is more for myself and the audience. Brian, what is your company, Cooper and Associates, what is your relationship to our SRS group and the builder?
We have done a considerable amount of design services for the SRS group and the Skip Ray, who is one of the builders that might be putting in the homes out there. So we are surveyors and we are licensed engineers that do land development and commercial development. So we've been associated with both companies substantially throughout the years.
Are there any other development areas that you, in this immediate area, that you have been developing with and surveying and doing the engineering work for?
Yes, there's been a lot. One of the more notable ones, of course, is the Monticello Estates over off of 55th Street.
Is there anything that would be comparable to what you would be doing here?
Those are larger lots. Those would be more expensive homes. The Monticello subdivision are larger lots and more expensive homes. We do have other developments that we have done in other areas, in other townships, whether we're talking about Jackson Township or Perry Township. In Plain Township, Lake Township, we've done St. James Place, if you've been there. But again, those are a little larger lots, a little more expensive homes. We did several developments, but this is pretty much a standard size lot, standard size development that is typically done. But most of the ones in this near proximity have been larger.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know how long the current
use of the property as a farmhead or a rural residential type property has been, I mean, how long has it?
I'm not knowledgeable of that.
Well, I'm thinking it was.
It's been a long time.
Thinking it was since zoning originated in this township. Do you have any thing to indicate otherwise?
No, I do not.
So what we've had out there is more or less a small rural open green space in the center of what might have been farmland before, but that historically has been developed around it. And now what your application is saying, you want this site to be able to do what the adjoining areas have done.
Not entirely, because the adjoining areas, they were done before your more recent code, which is based upon a much larger lot size than is currently out there. They were put in as residential, single-family residential homes, but which we would like to do, and we are going to try to create something that is approximately, well, let's say a little bit more higher value, but not too great, that much higher in value, and a little larger lots, which I said are going to be in a range of 30 to 50% larger than most of the lots out there. But although at one time all the area that we're talking about was farmland, and then as it developed around this one residual piece of property. And now we're going to be doing what is often called an infill of development. And what we want to do with this infill is try to create something that blends in with the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker in favor. On up.
Hi, my name is Skip Ray. I live at 8230 Lutz Avenue, Maslin, Jackson Township, and I'm one of the owners of SRS. And I second sign in here. Have something to give. Make it easier. Just pass one down to everybody. Thank you. Got it. Secretary is the easiest way. We are, SRS stands for Showers, Ray, and Seifert. We've been associated together for about 25, 30 years. And as you can see there, I built houses for over 45 years. You can tell by the white hair what house building does to you. So I built probably 1,000 houses in Stark County area alone, mostly in Jackson Township. That's where we've been doing. The last 25 years, we've done, I've listed, I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, Briarwood Hills, one of our developments, Scottsbury Hills and Scottsbury Highlands. The parade is there right now, where the parade that's being on right now was one of our developments. The guys that have it, we sold it to them, but we did the developing on it. So we did all the development through Scottsbury. Hunter's Chase, Mudbrook Village, Aberdeen Ridge and Aberdeen Glen is one of our allotments that we're just finishing up. It's a big allotment, Perry and Jackson. And I totaled up roughly, there's 750 new homes in those allotments right now that we've basically been responsible for. The plans for the 18 acres obviously is the R1, and I have pictures if you'd like to see pictures. These are houses that, back to this thing. These are all pictures of houses we've done in the last probably 5-6 years in Scottsbury and Aberdeen almost exclusively. And what they are the R1. Some of the other allotments are bigger, but everything that you're going to see is what we've done in the R1. And we requested the R1 because it gives us a nice footprint. The biggest thing is we're trying to get is a 3-car garage. As you know, a lot of the houses, by the time you do your 2-car garages, and you have your cars, you don't have room for bicycles or anything else. So almost everything we build is 3-car garages, and people really like it. So that gives you a good idea of what our plans are there. And we plan on mixing it between ranches, 1.5 stories, 2 stories. Going to see what sells. We're going to put a model up, work out of a model, and I'm going to try to do pretty much most of the building myself. I have a couple young guys help me here, but we're going to do the building. But that's not saying we wouldn't sell some to some other builders. But that's our plans. Any questions?
Yeah, questions from the commission members?
Yeah, you said you will be selling lots or to other builders?
We probably not. What I intend to do is build them all. We have the capability very easy of going through there and building them. And we could. Right now we don't know exactly, but I probably think that I want to do all the building.
Okay, now the homes that you're going to build are probably going to have a higher value of the surrounding homes because
Yes.
the area was probably, that you're going to be neighboring was probably built a lot by Grisey.
Correct.
So the surrounding areas that are butting up, their home value might go up a little bit by you building a better house.
I would think. We're hoping that the people that have a house that's 10, 20 years old wants a new house or wants to move up into a newer house, everything new, bigger garage, like I say, bigger garages. The houses in the last 20, 30 years have really changed as far as the insides. The kitchens are bigger now and granite and things like that. So we get a lot of move-up buyers.
Okay, so the average home size would be
Well,
from minimum to maximum?
say it again.
From minimum to maximum?
I would say minimum 1,700 probably on a ranch. On a 1.5 to 2-story, probably 2,200 on up. That's pretty typical, like I say, those figures of what we build. But the people, once we get houses going, people want move up, new house. Things are different than they were when I know Grisey built those houses.
Okay, will you have sidewalks?
No,
No sidewalks?
no sidewalks.
Okay, the setbacks off the property line would be about 35 feet?
40 feet is I think is the R1 setback, is that correct, Brian? 40 foot from the property line is pretty common.
Okay.
There's a 10 foot between the property line and the curb, so you'd be 50 foot from the curb.
Okay.
That's pretty standard.
With a 10-foot side setback?
Correct statement.
Okay.
It's 35 is the zoning code.
35 is the code here. Jackson is 40.
Okay. Okay, so we would be 35 from the property line?
Correct. Like I say, it all depends on the pieing and that type of thing, but we would mix it up a little bit to give it a little design.
Okay. Now, the surrounding areas do have sidewalks, right?
I don't know.
No, they do not.
No. Okay.
Folks, I know you want to help Brian, but
Sorry.
you gotta wait your turn.
Okay.
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know what they have.
I have a question. It shows that there are 2 streets that are being proposed within this development. I don't want to make any assumption. Who will be the owner of that street? Is that going to be part of the township, or is that especially Street A, is that going to be private to that, or how's that going to work?
Well, Street A is because it doesn't have a name. The other 2 streets have names that were already there. So we have to have, those are the names that we were given.
Okay.
We will name Street A. The biggest thing, it can't have another name in Stark County with the same name. So you couldn't have Cherry Street or Apple Street or something like that. There's already an Apple Street.
Will that be maintained by the township?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
What, I didn't get the tentative square foot on the 2-story, 1,700 on the
Well,
ranch?
like I say, probably 17 on ranches and 2,200 or above for story and a half, it's 2 stories. You just about can't do them. I mean, we did 40 years ago, 2,000 square foot 2 stories, but people today won't deal with it.
Generally, what basically price range when these go to market in general?
You're going to be 300.
Has a purchase agreement been signed for this property?
Yes.
Okay, and the parties to that purchase agreement are whom?
Say it again.
The parties to the purchase agreement are whom?
SRS, ourselves, and the Merrill owners.
Okay, so SRS would
Correct.
be purchasing, but your other, the company would be doing the developing?
SRS is the developing company, and I'm the builder.
Okay, I'm sorry, building, all right.
We're basically buying a development for us to build on.
Is the purchase agreement subject to action, favorable action out of
Right.
this body?
Attention.
What would the price of just an average lot be offhand right now?
I'm going to say probably 65,000, roughly.
For the lot?
Mr. Ray, have you had any communications with any of the adjoining property owners?
None.
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 You've heard no feedback one way or the other from anybody?
None.
Thank you very much. Other persons, I know that only 2 people stood up. Anybody else here to speak in favor of the application? Okay, come on up front. I'm going to have to swear you in
Sign in.
and sign in. Yes. Why don't you start by giving us your name and address, and then I'll swear you in.
Thank you. I am Sandra Merrill. I'm one of the property owners at 2766 Mount Pleasant Street, Northwest, North Canton, Ohio, 44720.
Okay, do you swear or affirm that the information you are about to present is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now you may speak.
All right. Well, as I just stated, I am one of the property owners along with my husband, Andre Asbury. Obviously, I would like you to approve this recommendation. Basically, the reasons are we bought the property in 2007 from Dr. Bernard Johnson and his wife. And at that time, I had 5 kids living at home, and it was a very, wonderful situation to be in North Canton. The kids were, most of them already in North Canton schools, and to have the space, but still not be in a really remote setting. I'm not a country person. I grew up in a city, so it was the right situation. However, most of my children are either in graduate school and moved on, some finishing up high school. And I have to say, too, I bit off more than I could chew. I paid quite a bit for the property, which is all right. I knew that going in that I wanted land and the house. We did quite a bit of updating because Dr. Johnson and his wife had maintained it but not updated the property much. But over the last few years, it's become incredibly difficult for me to come up with the expenses of taking care of an older home and the property, and of course kids moving out, so I don't need as much space. The surrounding area, as everyone has already stated, has nice but modest homes. Quite a few of them Brisé homes or smaller ranch-style older homes that go down Mount Pleasant that have been there for a while. And while it's very nice, it's not particularly, high-end. And I think that the request that's being made is completely appropriate with the neighborhood. I think the homes, as they stated, will be a little bit nicer, a little bit larger, and certainly in no way would diminish the value or hurt the value of the surrounding property and would be consistent. In fact, over the years, there have been a couple of developments put in that were a little nicer and I think would be consistent with what we have. They were smaller, but still homes that are a little nicer. And I don't remember the development names, but if you saw there on Abigail Street, which comes right off Mount Pleasant, there's a development there which has a cul-de-sac, and then if you go down the other end of Mount Pleasant and you hit, I think it's Ponsford or something, you hit another development with some nice single-family two-story homes. So I think there's nothing unreasonable about the request being made. As far as the questions about agricultural use, I can't completely answer that. As I said, we moved in 2007. We do not have any agricultural, per se, use of the property other than there's lots of trees, you know, deer, that sort of thing. My understanding, Dr. Johnson and the previous owners did not really have agricultural use. I think at a couple of times they had, Dr. Johnson had told me, horses that his children rode, and someone else maybe had a couple of horses that their children rode, but no real agricultural use. It was more just large family property. We did help to put water up on the property because there was a well, but aqua water runs along the front of our house on Mount Pleasant. So we brought up a water line. Obviously, for whatever the builders do, they may need to extend that or go. Somebody asked if it was North Canton City, and I think somebody said it was. I don't know what their plan is, whether it'll be Aqua or North Canton City, but I know both of those run along the property line. The reason we went with Aqua is because it really hit. We didn't have to cross the road. It hit us at our driveway. But North Canton City, they told me was an option, but we'd have to cross the road. So there, and as you said, we're on septic now, but they would bring in sewer, which I think would be very beneficial. There are not sidewalks around our area. Mount Pleasant does not have sidewalks, and the other side streets people walk, but they're walking in the street. There are no sidewalks until you get into really the city of North Canton, not the plain township part of North Canton. I know my personal economic situation is not your concern, but I think you need to be fair to any property owner. I've had the house on the market for probably about a year. I would be very happy to sell to somebody as a single family house, but that has just not come along. There have been some inquiries, but basically people just don't want to take that on, or take it on, Even with my tentative contract with the builders, I am taking a huge financial loss. And if I lose this deal, I'm not sure what's going to happen, to me financially. As I said, it's just too much for me to keep up. But I think in fairness, what we're asking for is nothing that is inconsistent with the neighborhood and the area and what's right. I see a few of my neighbors here today. I'm not sure what their concerns are. I'm certainly that everybody would be happy to address it. No one has called me or contacted me personally to express any concerns. So as I said, if there are concerns, I'd be happy to try to address them, as I'm sure the builders would. But in fairness, no matter what their concerns are, I think they've been very fortunate to obviously have some open space when that's not consistent with the neighborhood. Most of the neighbors here live in modest but smaller homes with very small yards, and I don't think it's up to me to maintain open space when I can't. If that's what people want in their neighborhood, then they need to move to an area that's rural and open space, because the neighborhood is really single-family residential, and that's consistent with everything. And I understand people get feeling maybe that they like having no neighbors in the back and so forth and enjoy that open space, but that can't be my burden to provide that to people who are living in homes, as I said, built by Grisey and other small ranches with small yards. So I really think this proposal is very fair. It's going to create a very nice development.
Okay. Questions, and I'll start with questions. Ms. Merrill, you're an attorney?
Yes, I am. In
Okay.
fact, you know, we were in the same office
We
for a
were.
few years.
We were. And I see that you purchased the property in February of 2007.
That's correct.
And Mr. Zoning Director, correct me if I'm wrong, the present zoning restrictions and definitions for the districts that we have here came into effect in 2006.
Correct. It started in 2000, project started in 2006.
So at the time you bought the property, you knew the restrictions imposed by rural residential zoning. Is that correct?
Well, in general, I mean, I didn't really read it. My understanding, I mean, in detail, my understanding was it was residential, and yes, it was somewhat rural. I've come to find maybe it was a little more restrictive than I thought, because as I said, everyone around us, even the older homes across the street, are more like ranch or smaller single family. So I understood it wasn't going to be any huge developments or multi-family, or maybe even something where you could pile houses on top of each other. I guess at the time, honestly, I just didn't think about 7 years down the line, so I didn't realize it was quite as restrictive. Because, too, nobody had been using it. I mean, Dr. Johnson had talked to me in detail about his use of the property. He's an oral surgeon. He was not a farmer. And prior owners who were not farmers. So I guess I didn't completely understand the impact of the agricultural aspect.
Questions from other commission members?
Yeah, there's two sections there, and you own both sections?
Yeah, and I'm not sure why that is. There's 16 acres, and then there's just one little, like, 2-acre part that, for some reason, they had different parcel numbers, but they're all contiguous. You know, they're all together. We bought them all together. He can, you know, they were all Dr. Johnson, so I'm not exactly sure why there was 16 acres and then 2 acres, because they're just one big chunk of land.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Now, no one else has taken the oath or signed in to speak in opposition. You have one chance. Is anybody here to speak on the other side? Okay, we go right to a motion and deliberations.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the application 557-14 from rural residential to R1.
I will second that motion.
Okay, now we'll have the discussion.
Oh, it makes sense.
I had the opportunity to look at the site. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I have an affinity to open spaces in our township, but there's places that are good for homes, and there's places that are good for open spaces, and this seems to be the right time for this to happen at this location.
I feel that this seems to be going in the proper direction. The homes, when I drove through the area, in just looking at the property in question, but I drove through the surrounding areas. The homes are very nice, they're well maintained. I don't know whether I would call them modest, I would call them nice homes. And it would seem to me that this would fit in well with the surrounding neighborhood. And since the prices may be somewhat higher, I would hope that that would raise the property value of the homes in the contiguous and surrounding area. So I feel this is the proper way to go at this time.
My thought behind this is that I agree with everything that Dave Rochon is saying, and for the idea that nobody has really brought up any kind of opposition to it. It seems like the community itself thinks this is also fair in the way that it has been proposed at this time.
Guess it's my turn to speak, or did you want to say something
Well,
more?
I know the quality that Mr. Ray builds, and it's going to be an asset for him to build in that area and for Plain Township. He builds a quality home, he stands by it, and he's not going to bring any other builders into the development, which is, I think, the way to do it. We'll have complete control over the neighborhood, over the development, and I just don't see any reason not to do it. Yes?
I'm inclined to vote in favor of the amendment too, in part because there's no opposition. I'm just a little bit chagrined at the bandying about and throwing out of the word fair. When an attorney purchases a property with full awareness of the consequences of the zoning in that area, but because there's no opposition, I will go along with my fellow commission members. But fairness does not require us to do something for an applicant. Fairness requires that the applicant protect himself or herself at the time of purchase.
And to echo your sentiment, I did find the application to be somewhat disingenuous when it asserted the terms hardship. There's no hardship here. This is an appropriate business decision. The hardship is non-existent. The applicant knew what the zoning was, and that's what the use of the property was for years, and we're assuming the owner at that time and the previous owners were quite happy with the zoning as it was then. So the question really is whether this is an appropriate change to make at this time. Nothing to do with hardship, and I'm inclined to agree that the timing is correct for this for other reasons.
I would like to echo and agree with that, because the purpose of the commission is not to take in feelings or emotions, but to see exactly what the zoning is and could be, and how it affects the surrounding community, as far as does it meet the master plan. So there are things that we look at in a more general terms, as far as whether a property is appropriately to be rezoned or not.
Stephanie, will you call the roll on the motion?
Benko?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Rochon?
Yes.
Thornborough?
Yes.
Seaberger?
I'll make it unanimous, yes. Okay, and Stephanie, can you tell folks where this amendment will go and when the next meeting is?
Sure. This amendment will be forwarded to the trustees at the next public hearing, which is Tuesday, August 26th. And the trustees will set a public hearing for Tuesday, September the 9th at 6 p.m. here in the same room. And there is no September meeting.
Okay. And do we have any further business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
I heard 4 votes already in favor of adjournment. We are adjourned.